Hey guys, this is for those of you who haven't heard yet. If you've heard the news, I just found out a few minutes ago. I found out when it happened, but I had to drive home for lunch, so I wasn't able to give you the news at that time. But just shy of 12 o'clock, right after 11:45 or so, the parole board in Nevada approved Orenthal James Simpson parole from prison. So O.J. Simpson has been approved parole. He'll probably be out tomorrow, if not today. One of the parole members did say, board members did say, we're going to type up your paperwork. It'll take about 20 minutes or so. There's some questions, though, that arose during his parole hearing that I want to bring up to all of you, and I want to get your opinions on it if you saw it. If you did not, you can probably find it on Facebook at KTLA Morning News. They should have the video there. They probably, because they were live on Facebook, so you could probably go back and watch it as a video and then give me your opinions on a couple of things here. Now, when OJ was talking, they were asking him about what was it? A program. I think it's some type of behavioral program. I forget the name of it now. It escapes me. But they asked him, did he complete the program while he was in prison? And his answer was, well, I didn't have time to complete that. Been in prison for 9.5 years. I know that he was on the baseball commission for the prisoners, and he was on this thing and did that thing. But I think he could have, in 9 years, found time to complete that program. So that's kind of questionable to me. They asked him about AA and did he complete an AA program. His response was, well, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have an alcohol problem. And I need to go to AA. Yet, he did say he was drinking on the day of the crime. Well, you're drinking, you commit a crime, you have a problem. That's just an opinion of mine. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a doctor, or I'm not an alcohol drug counselor, ADC, so I'm not an expert. But in my opinion, if you drink and get intoxicated and go commit a crime, you've got a problem. I don't know, but he didn't complete AA because his reasoning was, I'm not an alcoholic, I don't have a problem with it. I didn't need to do that program. That was his reasoning. But some of the factors I believe in getting him paroled was, one of the victims, Bruce, was a friend of OJ's, in turn became a victim of that, testified that OJ never had a gun, OJ never pointed a gun at him, OJ never hit him. It was the guys that were with OJ, his posse, if you will, that came in all thug-like and gangster. Those were his words, thug-like and gangster, and pointed a gun at him and hit him and told him, back this stuff up, let's get out of here. He said OJ, although he made it happen, said he never really pointed a gun at him, didn't have a gun, didn't hit him or anything. Basically saying that, they've made up since, and OJ is his friend, and he said, if OJ wanted me to pick him up tomorrow, would I? He looked over at OJ and said, I'll be here tomorrow morning, Juice. So I think that was one of the biggest factors, is that the victim came forward and testified and said, look, I know this happened. I know I was a victim, but I'm friends with OJ now. We've made up. We've reconciled our friendship. I'll pick him up tomorrow if he gets out. I think that was one of the biggest factors in the board deciding to parole OJ. Another thing that I believe could have been a factor was that OJ's friends with Ozzy Fumo. I don't know I can't remember the last name, but it's Ozzy. His name's Ozzy, and he's a politician in a very high position. He has high power as a politician to, grant certain things. And OJ's friends with him, and when OJ found out that he had got voted into this position as a politician, OJ didn't request, hey man, can you get me a bed? Hey, can you get me out of here? Hey, can you, get me released or whatever? OJ instead wrote him and said, hey, can you help these other inmates in here? We need educational programs. We need educational materials, whatever. And he did that. Instead of looking out for himself, he looked out for all the other people that were inmates in that prison and reached out to that politician for help with educational materials and so forth. So I think those two things, the victim testifying, and the fact that OJ asked for things for other inmates from a politician instead of something for himself, I think those two factors were probably the biggest consideration that was taken into account for the parole board approving to release Orenthal J. Simpson from prison. So today, Orenthal J. Simpson, known as O.J. Simpson, the Juice, has been approved parole. He's going to be getting out of prison. I want to hear from all of you what you think is going to happen. I mean, he's 70 years old. He wants to retire out in Florida, which they're looking at. But even if he stays in Nevada, 70 years old, do you think he's going to commit another crime? Do you think he's going to do something else? Also, I just remember he was testifying, saying that, you know, he grew up conflict free. He goes, I never was confrontational. I never, I always grew up trying to be, friendly and passive. But if you recall, Nicole Brown Simpson had made some 911 phone calls, and you could hear OJ screaming and banging on doors and so forth. And my memory escapes me. He turned 50, and but I do remember him yelling. And she said, "Do you hear that? Do you hear that? That's OJ Simpson. You guys know him." My point is, OJ was saying that he's, this nice guy. He's always been a nice guy, and he really, I don't know. Is that questionable to any of you? That he tried to paint himself as, I've never had confrontation, I've never been, when we know that there were 911 calls where he had anger issues. Now that's in another case, and that wasn't taken into account because he was acquitted of all of that. But what I'm talking about is the fact of him saying, I don't have anger issues, when we know we heard him screaming and yelling. If it was him, we don't even know if it was him. Probably was, right? Because it was Nicole Brown Simpson calling on him. But that's, I just want to hear from all of you what you think about it. I want to get your opinions, comments below. Comment. I want to know what all of you think about all of this and all of that I said. Let me know, guys. OJ!